Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the beautiful weather you have given us, and we just thank you for our leaders. I think of our president, our governor. There's been lots of negative things said about them, and I just pray you give them wisdom to help make the decisions that need to be made as best for citizens. We do pray for tonight's meeting. Give us all wisdom to vote on things that's right for the citizens and not ourselves. Give us a good meeting, and all these things I pray. Amen. We'll have the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, ready for the roll call. Everybody here? Can everybody hear what's going on?
I can.
Okay.
Ready?
Do I see Ron Beverly?
You do not.
Okay. Well, we'll continue on. Roll call, please.
Barth,
Here.
Juan,
Here.
Bassett,
Here.
Ridgway,
Present.
Clipper,
Here.
and Beverly is not here.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. Your approval of the April 20th council minutes. I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
Did I hear a second?
Yeah, Mike Barth, second.
Okay. Roll call.
Clipper,
Yes.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Okay. Approve of your bills. Had a chance to look them over. Any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Val might have an answer for this. The Owens electric bill for the park baseball and ball field lights. I know Owens give an estimate on doing it. All depends on what they found out was if it needed ballast or bulb or both. I'm not sure what is if this one was at cost or below cost.
We aren't done all the way, so that was probably just the estimate. We had it high, but they're coming back again, so you wouldn't have got a bill. That would have just been the estimate.
Well, this one here is for $7,580. Is that the one where they changed things over to LED?
I didn't see it. I only got what they gave me for what it was going to cost. I didn't get like the bill. I think so, but if I had it in front of me, I don't have it.
it was an input. I'll check on it, Eric.
We did, they got the basketball lights done. So I don't know if they would have sent that. Is it a bill or is it just
Yeah, it's a bill.
okay. That's probably for the lights on the basketball court.
Okay, any other questions?
Val,
Entertain a motion.
no, I have a question for Val. What was the estimate for the basketball lights? You remember?
Not right with me because I left my book down to the park.
Okay. I
What
was
was
just trying to remember. I was on park board back then, and it sounded like this, around this much to do, I think, everything, if I remember.
Yeah,
No, it was more than that.
It was?
it's awful expensive for just basketball courts.
But that was, like I said, unless I see it, I'd have to. I've got mine all combined, but I left the paper at the park.
Okay. Something to check out.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so do we want to go ahead and pay that one? You want to hold that one out?
Well, I can let Cheryl know tomorrow or somebody know tomorrow when I get to the park.
About the Owens electric bill, right?
Yeah,
The 7,800.
Okay.
I haven't seen that yet. That one, if it was a bill.
Do we want to hold off on that one then, or go ahead and approve it?
I'd like to hold off on that one.
Okay,
Make the motion to pay the bills except for the Owens, so we can take a look at the quote compared to what the bill actually stated.
Okay.
okay. Okay, got a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call?
Barth,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Klepper,
Yes.
Ridgway,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the boards and commissions. I don't think we had any minutes. Anybody want to report on either of those?
I don't have anything to report on. They didn't give me minutes.
Okay, we'll go to council committee reports. In your packet, there was police, fire, and EMS minutes. Anybody want to report on that?
I can go first if you want.
Sure.
We had a police, fire, and EMS meeting on the 25th, and myself, Mike Barth, Eric Bassett, John Elwood, Mark Denning, Cheryl Smith, and Scott Kramer. We discussed about whether to replace the ambulance that's been in need. And I don't know, John, did you find anything else from Schmitz or anything on that about the repairs on the old one?
I have not heard anything back yet.
Okay, have you contact them, or they just have, well, they're short hours, but I think they're back to full business this week. But anyway, we got the rates for it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl, was we gonna go with the 84 months at 3.89%?
That's what we're looking at.
Okay, hey, Scott, wherever you're at oh, there you are. Hey, did you look at that, text I sent you on the place in Columbus?
Not have time to look at, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, and,
Did
also
that have a
brought
price?
up, pardon?
Did that have a price with it?
No, I just seen what that
Protection.
website said.
Okay.
And, the committee voted to take it to council to, pursue about getting the finance for a new ambulance. So I don't know if we want to do that now, Mayor.
Can we
Does
explain
does
better?
Troy have to bring a reading back, or how's that work? Are you there, Troy?
Do you want me to explain what we're talking about? Anybody?
I'm sorry, Cheryl, you broke up. What was that?
I said, do you want me to explain that part?
Yes,
Sure.
if you would, please.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Whoops.
This
good.
conference will now be recorded.
Whoops,
That's
hit the
good.
wrong. Anyway, what we were talking meeting was if you would approve the rate increase, which is long overdue. It's been over 6 years, and we get taken care of. The difference, if you look at the numbers that Scott gave you at the last meeting, that was based on actual runs that we had for the last 2 years with the increase. If he only charges what we're charging now, we'll go along like we're going along with the same budget, same everything, without the ambulance. If you take the increase in every run that goes through here with the increased rate, you take the increased amount, put it in its own line that is restricted only for paying for the ambulance. Then the not be touched at all, other than what it is right now, the income would still be the same, and all of the additional income would be for the ambulance. And we need to bring it to council, because before we can even go further at the bank for the financing, we need to have council's approval to talk to the bank. And they need to know that, yes, this is what we would like to ask the bank, and who is going to sign for it, which I'm assuming would be the mayor. That's up to Troy. So does anyone have questions about that?
So the numbers you provided that are in bold, the grand total increase, based on the increased rates, we would have generated an additional $107,985 in 2018 and $105,915 in 2019. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
One thing I'll say on that, if you're on that same page, if you look above that where it says 65%, the reason why they had 65% on there is they're trying to figure out exactly what we bill and what we actually receive. There's a lot of times we had to write off a lot due to Medicaid, Medicare, any of those type of things, or people don't pay their bills and we don't get the money from them. So that 65% was kind of showing where that would be, I guess, how much money I guess we could say we would be in the positive after actually collecting everything.
Scott tried to make the numbers real and, not just off the top of his head.
That's why I used the last 2 years of runs per entity. And like Cheryl and Eric said, that's just the increase amount. That wouldn't be the billed amount. That's just additional revenue that we would be receiving.
I will say for the first 3 years, we will also have the COT payment, because that price for the EMS does not include a COT, but the COT would be a 3-year 0% interest. Is that correct, Scott? 0% interest for 3 years?
Yes, it is.
And that would be $16,000 a year
It's about
for
$16,000,
the COT.
$17,000 a year.
And so the first 3 years, pretty much, if you look at the, let's say, 29, what was it, $29,000 approximately, or 26.5, all depends on which one we went with. For the yearly cost, plus the 16,000, you're looking at about $42,000 to $45,000 a year for the first 3 years. Then it drops down just to the 26, 29, whichever rate we go with, the 8-year or the 7-year. And you can see with just the increases from the EMS runs, that should be more than enough to pay for itself. And typically, you set aside what, $30,000 to $35,000 a year for the EMS contingency, anyways.
Yeah.
That's not even included in this. So, plus they're hoping to be able to make more money off of runs, helping Hicksville Hospital out and doing some transfers to whether it's Toledo or Fort Wayne, Defiance, and being able to bill and make some money off that part too.
Okay,
And
do
Mike,
we
you
want
spoke
to
to the
vote?
hospital about that, correct? About transporting, the chance to get it?
Yeah, I spoke with Jane Zachrich and asked her if she'd be interested or in us maybe helping in that regard. And she said, yes, we'd have to have us sit down and talk to them on the ways and means kind of how we can do something like that. But she was interested in having a local service be able to provide some of those runs, absolutely.
Okay, so we want a motion to proceed, not purchase, but proceed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
You could do that. Ultimately, we'll have to do a resolution to purchase the squad and then to finance it and put all that into the resolution. But you could do a motion to proceed with going further down the road and then we'll need a contract for all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
so Cheryl just need this for the minutes for the bank, right, Cheryl?
Yes. And I also need to Troy, would it be the mayor's signature? Because they did ask me that too.
Yeah, it could be the mayor. We just have to, when we do our resolution, that's just how we authorize it. We just authorize the mayor to sign any loan documents on behalf of the village when we do our resolution.
Yeah, right now, they just need a copy of our minutes showing that we discussed it, approved it, and we're moving on. It doesn't have anything to do with the final approval.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That'll work.
Okay, I'll entertain, if that's what you want to proceed, I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
any other questions or discussion? Roll
Yeah,
call.
on this, Mayor, we also, the board approved, for Bruce Hart to remain on,
Okay, let's vote on that first, Larry, then we can talk about, okay?
all right, sorry.
Okay, roll call, that's okay.
Barth,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Klepper,
Yes.
Ridgway,
Yes,
Bassett,
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
okay, the committee also, Scott brought up about Bruce Hart is moving to Mark Center, Ohio, and asked if he could remain as on the fire department. With the loss of Troy Potter and Josh Metz, we thought it'd be good to have him continue on that. I don't know, do we have to vote on that as a council?
Don't know. Probably should.
Is it, Larry, let me ask this question. Is it in the bylaws or something that says that they have to be residents? Because I thought there's been people for years that have lived outside of town that have been on the fire. I mean, that's a little further than just living a mile outside in the country, but.
I think right now it's like 3 miles.
Okay, there is a distance
I'm not
requirement.
sure about that. Do you know that, Scott?
I think it's changed to Hicksville Township, which that's not in Hicksville Township, but it is in the fire district, so.
Yeah, so if you're gonna vary from that, you should probably get it in the minutes saying that it's acceptable. I mean, the biggest concern obviously is he's got a long distance to come. If there's something going on, I presume, it'd be dumb not to, but I presume you're not holding up any trucks or anything like that, waiting on him to get here from Mark Center.
No, he responds direct to the scene, and he will be going usually in a non-emergency mode, depending where the scene is.
Right, so that should limit anything out of the ordinary is from a liability perspective. So yeah, as long as you got it documented that it's acceptable.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'm making a motion to accept Bruce to continue.
Okay, second.
Second that.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got one other thing. Oh,
Well,
no.
let's vote on this one first. Sorry. Roll call.
Yes.
Ridgway,
Yes,
Klepper,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
okay, last was about the staffing for weekend coverage for the EMTs, and I don't know if Scott or John found out, but they've been having trouble getting people to go on runs. I don't know if John or Scott can add to this.
We haven't met with them yet. We'll probably meet hopefully this week sometime and discuss it and see what they want to do for what their recommendation to fix the problem is.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. On the agenda, I saw the committee reports was April the 22nd. Does that need to be changed? They actually met the 25th.
we met on
Is that-
Wednesday. The 25th was Saturday, wasn't it?
I don't know.
We met on the 25th, and we also met on 29th. Sorry.
22nd, 29th is when we met.
Okay.
Hey,
Sorry,
Larry,
Matt.
Does that need to be on the agenda? I mean, maybe not. Okay.
the agenda was correct. The minutes, I'll just have to make a change on it.
Okay. Administrators report. Kent, I think you're here.
One more, Ron.
Okay.
For another council, for a committee report, the personnel committee, we were going to meet in April and go over police, fire, EMS. I'm going to have a sign-up sheet for Wednesday, May 13th at 5:30, and be Corey, Larry, and I meeting one at a time with anyone from the police, fire, EMS that would like to come and talk to us. Any concerns, complaints, things they'd like to see changed, and we sign up. I'll have a sign-up sheet for probably give it to. Who should I give it to?
Okay.
Should I give it to Kent or Cheryl? But for them to sign up, and then we'll meet with them Wednesday night, the 13th.
Okay. Okay. At the council room, is that where you're thinking? Okay.
Yes.
Any other committee reports?
Real quick, Mayor, Water and Sewer Committee, we're gonna try to meet next week, go over some of the projects we have ongoing. We had a new contract, for the lift station on Defiance Avenue we need to take a look at, and some other things. So I know Ron Beverly and Mr. Klepper are on my committee on that. So we're gonna try to meet next Monday, which would be the 11th, right around 5 o'clock.
Okay.
All yours. Throw my chair.
That's all.
Any other committee reports?
Have a seat.
No,
Kent, you're up.
See you.
and I'm here though. You don't need to see me. The only thing I've got is that sewer use and the oil and grease ordinance. We do need to get something so we can start enforcing. People are putting down our drains, so look that over. I don't think it water sewer committee again. People have seen versions of this off and on over the years. So maybe meeting, let know if you're okay with it, and I'll get a cleaned up version of Troy then to get in the system.
Everybody have a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I got a question on that, Kent. Who's going to be doing the enforcing of that? Any of these, I guess the new ordinance.
It'll have to be somebody either from the sewer department or my office. Right now, we tend to go after people that are causing us some major issues. I mean, I'm not gonna name names or anything, but we've spent a lot downtown the past 2 weeks trying to get a whole bunch of grease out of the system.
Kent, I see it's referenced. I see it's referenced in the handwriting, but there definitely, if you want to, there needs to be a penalty section of some sort that says if you get caught, here's what the penalty is. So I can help you out with that if we decide what we want that to be.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't know if it's going to be a misdemeanor or what degree or any of that stuff.
Yeah, we can come up with that, but we should just have a general section that says a violation of this ordinance is, whatever, and what the penalties are, so that it's clear in there. That was the only thing I noticed when I looked it over.
Yeah, otherwise, we've just been working as usual, so I guess hope we have a regular meeting next month or next time, because this drives me doing it this way.
That's it?
Yeah.
Any questions for Kent before he goes off the camera?
Too late.
I'm off the camera.
Too late? Okay. Kent, did you want to bring up anything up about the land out there that we bought, Haver's land? Do you want to talk about that?
I was going to talk about that, Ron. Kent and I talked about it, and I was going to talk about it.
All right. Troy, you're up.
Yep. Get the legislation out of the way. I guess start with the first thing is ordinance 2020-05, a second reading by caption only, an ordinance amending section 141.16 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Hicksville, Ohio, establishing current charges for rescue company service. That's the legislation. For the next meeting, we should have the resolution to approve the contract with Whirler. I got late Friday. They finally sent it. I don't know if Ken ever got it. I ended up getting my copy. And actually, as I read it, the original contract called for extensions after the 3-year period was up. And all we had to do is give them written notice that we intend to extend it, but there should be some document then that says basically it's extended. And it appears from my reading on it, it would be extended on the same terms basically, but it's for a 2-year period. And then there's an option for another 2 years after that. So I have reviewed what they sent over the weekend, but because they sent it late and it was past the agenda and everything, we got plenty of time still, so we'll get it on for the next time to approve that. That's on that issue. I did speak to Mr. Haynes today, gave him all the information. He assured me in the morning he has Cheryl's name and address, and he's sending the signed agreement along with the cashier's check to the village's attention tomorrow morning. So he's one of the few people who've been working a lot because of trucking and stuff like that. So I was able to catch up with him. We played phone tag a little bit, but he and I talked about 4:00 this afternoon. And I gave him the information. So that hopefully within the couple days this week should finally be put to bed. And then the other thing is, Kent and I had some discussions about the land out there for the well site. And I know there's been some discussions about whether or not we should advertise for bids to farm it, not knowing when we're going to start, doing what we're going to do, and we're going to have excess land or whatever. There is something that between Kent and I, we got to investigate to see what the best path for the village is. But the Havers had that land in CRP, and so they were getting paid not to farm it, basically. And that typically, I know the Kent got some paperwork in the mail after the transfer. I had specifically included in the real estate purchase contract that if there was any recoupment from the CRP program, that the Havers would pay that, because that's who's been getting it paid. And typically the way that works is if you, during the term of the program, do something to pull it out, then you're responsible for paying back all the money that you've been paid. I'm not sure exactly how long they were in there. I know the paperwork Kent got said that it was supposed to be in there until 2027, I believe. And I think a lot of times those are 10-year programs. So the question comes up, there's a couple of options. The worst option would be for us to say, in my opinion, let's just keep it in there for now, and it's fine. We might get a year's worth of payments or whatever for it, which I think Kent said is about $10,000 a year for everything. And then we decide what part we're going to use, and we take out of that. Well, then do we have to pay back for everything, including the part that the Havers technically are on the hook for per the contract? That's the worst. That's I would never recommend that. There's two options really that we could do. I think we could say, hey, a contract says that you'll pay the recoupment. We're taking it all out right now. You pay whatever the recoupment is, or, and get them satisfied. And then at a later date, when we decide how much of the land we need, if we wanted to put the remainder, if there's enough, and there's all kinds of variables, you got to have a certain amount of acreage and other things. But if we wanted to put it back in, I think we could do that. And between Kent and I, we got to talk to the people at the extension office and figure that out. But until that, it is in the CRP program, so we can't exactly go and farm it right now, or we'll be violating the terms of that. And my hunch is, and I'm not an expert on those things at all, is if the farming income on that would be minimal, based upon the acreage and stuff, especially once we decide what we're going to do with our land. And because of what it is, if it's farmed, it's going to have to be no chemicals, no fertilizer, stuff that's bad for the water system. So I'm not sure what type of attraction that would be to farmers based upon the fact that it's not a huge amount of acres. And I think my understanding always was it costs more to farm environmentally safe like that, like a lot of things do. So my best scenario, if we can work it out with the people at the extension office, is if we could pull it out now, the whole thing, and whatever recoupment that's owed, have the Havers pay that and get them squared away, and then at a later date when we're positive how much we need and buffer zones and all that stuff, then we could maybe decide to put it back in there if that's economically more feasible than farming it. It would, I think Kit said, it would cost $400 or $500 a year probably to have somebody like mow it, flail mow it or something like that to keep it down, whatever's allowed under the program, which I think is all that the Havers have been doing on it. The other option would be if we could figure out now, which would take some work, how much we're gonna need. We may be able to do something where we keep a portion of it still in the program and only pull out a little bit, and maybe that reduces the amount of recovery. And again, without their limited staff, I know Kent tried to talk to him and he said he got, whoever was in manning the phones at the office or something, and it wasn't anybody. I've dealt with them before. It's been a while on a similar issue for private clients. But I think those are the things that need to be explored before we jump into advertising and seeing if somebody wants to farm it, or just yanking it out, or just leaving it in and then yanking it later. So that's what Kent and I talked about it today. We've exchanged a couple of emails, reviewed the document. Between the two of us, we got to get with those people and see what the best options are, and then we can bring it back, and whatever people want to do, then we can do.
Okay, anybody got any questions?
Hey, Troy, on the purchase contract, did you put a timeline in there for recoupment?
It's not, but typically it's when the property, around the time of transfer. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we say now we're good, we're going to leave it now, and then a year from now we decide we want to pull it out, I think they would have a viable legal argument that they don't owe the recoupment anymore because we accepted it. And what that would require us to do would be to sign on to the program now as the subsequent owner. And then I think at that point, if we pull it out, I think that would go outside the terms of the contract. So it's more a question of, we pull it out now. Do we pull it all out now, or do we only pull out the portion that we know for sure we're going to need for water purposes, and then deal with them on, recoupment issues, whether or not we still qualified for the program based upon the amount of the acreage, things like that.
Does the information from the extension office, I would imagine that there's got to be some sort of timeline for us to re-enroll.
I asked Kent that today, and he looked at the paperwork, and he said it's just a notice where you have to let them know if you want to continue on or pull it from the process, and it didn't have a date on it, but certainly, it just came last week, I believe, Kent. I think it was at the end of April, maybe like the 28th or something, 27th of April. So we need to get on it for sure, but it didn't have a date in the paperwork.
Well, so I guess 10,000 is a lot more than you'd ever get by farming, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, but that was for the whole amount. That was for everything.
Right.
Yeah, if we take out whatever we need, we'll probably still be eligible. It might not be the 10,000, but I got news for you. Even if it's 5,000, it's going to be more than we make on farming. That small amount, probably.
Well, the EPA looked into about the spraying and fertilizer, and that they've kind of backed off on that. I do know that.
Yeah.
It's not. Originally, Jesse said we had to be so many feet, but that's
right.
Not. So
Yep.
okay, we
probably
time.
It may not be required by the EPA, but it also may not be practically feasible for us to be having somebody spray chemicals and stuff around our future water supply. Though.
Absolutely, I'm talking about the water drive.
Right.
I think we're talking two different things here.
Oh, we are?
What that are planted, that's what the EPA somewhat changes their mind on. The 60, where the well field's gonna go, they're not gonna change their minds on that, and we'd be done.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Right where our wells are.
Okay, I agree with that. Okay, so we got some time. If we do
Yeah,
want to
so
catch
hopefully
the
by the
minutes-
next meeting, Kent and I will be able to catch up with somebody at the extension office and get the answers to those questions. And then we can bring it back at the next meeting and say, here's what the options are, here's what we can do. And I haven't yet because I was wanting to wait till the meeting. I actually got a meeting tomorrow with Mark Haver, so I'll talk to him about it too, so that we're all on the same page.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
Well, the only other thing I guess I need to add, I'm fine with all CRP if we can carve out the 12 acres for the well field. If everybody wants to sell the 20 acre to a developer, that changes things too.
True.
I mean, you can't put
Because
this
if we-
money in CRP and then want to
Right.
sell it 2 years from now.
Okay.
Then we're gonna have to pay back all the money that we got if we take it out then.
Okay. Good point. Any other thoughts? Okay, is that all you have, Troy?
That's all I had, Jeff.
Okay, thanks.
And no more
Questions
money.
for-
I was just gonna say, I know it's more money for the CRP over the farming, but I'd kind of like to not get stuck with possibly paying it all back and waiting to get out of that CRP and letting Havers get away with it, I guess, and keeping the money and not having them repay it. And we can always look into it in the future on what we have left and not drag our feet on it and let them get out of the contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is there may be a way, if we knew what we needed to take out what we needed for our well field, then they could pay the recoupment on that amount, and then we could keep it in. But then if we do that, like you're saying, and we decide that we want to sell it later, then we'll be the ones on the hook, for going forward. And those are the kind of questions I'd like to have this is how this plan would work, this is how this plan would work, and this is how this plan would work. And what are the upsides, what are the downsides? And I've dealt with them, like I said, for a private client before that was selling a huge amount of farmland, and the person was going to use it in a way. No, actually, the person had an income that was large enough they weren't eligible for the CRP program. And then what the effect of that was. So we'll get those questions answered, and then I guess we can present them all out there and decide what's best.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Troy. Any other questions for Troy? Okay, Police Chief Denny, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing.
Okay. Fire Chief Kramer?
I've got a question for Chief Denning. As far as enforcement on any of these, I guess the guidelines issued by the governor and the director of health, I guess, what is your guys' stance on citing versus not citing and all that fun stuff? How are you guys approaching that?
Chief, did you hear that question?
He's out of it.
Taylor had a question for you, Chief. Did you hear it?
I did not hear anything.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
he cut off for me.
No, I did not.
Can you hear me now?
All broken up. I can now.
Okay. My question was, how is the police department, how are you guys handling, I guess, all of the recommendations and orders that are being issued by the governor, and I guess the penalties that go along with those things that they're recommending? What's the department's stance, and how are you approaching those?
That's all. If it's an issue, we refer back to the Defiance County Prosecutor's Office before we take any enforcement action on anything. So, some of the stuff may not be enforceable and some stuff may, but we're following the recommendations of the county prosecutor on what we're going to do if we have.
Did you hear that, Taylor? Did you hear that response?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief? Okay, Scott, you're up.
Just with the nice weather and spring coming around, the rain slowing down finally a little bit. A lot of people are out burning fields and brush and stuff. Just remember, in the city limits, recreational fires only. Outside, if we get called and nobody's there, we're going to put it out. If somebody is there, it's going to depend on the size of the fire, if there's smoke going across the road or whatnot, as to how we're going to handle it. That's it on that. I'd like to thank you for all your support on purchasing the squad. I'd like to get it out of the way sooner than later, or it's going to cost us more money. Other than that, I don't have anything else. If anybody has questions for me.
Anybody got any questions for Scott? Or John, EMS, he's there. Your runs are down a little bit, right? The EMS, John?
Yeah, just a little bit for the last 2 months.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott or John? Okay, Park Director Val, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
I've got, we started, we had the okay to open the basketball courts and the tennis courts. And we're waiting now to hear from the governor or the Board of Health about the Little League games, if they want to start them or not. As of now, they're not.
Okay.
Well, and I can say, having read the governor's order, it specifically addresses that so far in his order. It says no recreational leagues, no adult or youth or whatever. So unless they issue a new order and change it, those type of leagues are out for now.
I know, I knew that, but I've had people asking.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Yeah, that's all over. That's a hot topic.
Yeah. But that's all I have.
Yeah, right now. Go ahead.
I said, that's all I
That's
have.
all you have.
Hey, Val.
Because right now, about the park.
Pardon?
I'm sorry.
Is Froggy Park open now? The
No.
playground?
Okay,
No.
you can go down there and walk, but the tennis courts, basketball courts are open as long as you stay your distance and no more than 10.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to go down and with their kids, and I'm guessing they can practice on the field. Is that right, Val? If they want to,
Yeah, they can, yeah, they can practice, but you just can't have a team on there practicing, a game or anything. But if your family wants to go down or a couple kids or whatever, that's fine.
All right. Is everybody clear on that?
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm just asking if everybody's clear on that, and any other questions? We're definitely waiting on the health department and the governor.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, even with opening those two courts, we're not turning the water on, so that's what this is going to be. People are going to start grousing about that. So I'm not so sure opening everything up is real wise here. You can't have those.
Did everybody hear Ken? I only heard about half.
Yeah, I didn't hear
We were in,
I know. Maybe you gotta get a little closer, Ken, to pick you up.
well, then I might give a look at Cheryl. Anyway, the restrooms are not going to be turned on or open. So the opening parts of the park gonna have issues with people. Why can't we use bathroom? So I would be careful. Open it up.
Yeah, we're not gonna open the restrooms.
Okay. Hopefully in the next week or two, things will loosen up. That's what I'm hoping. It's time.
No, I think the last the governor said was it's going to be weeks till he decides on the parks. I know there's some outside forces pushing to get this stuff open, but
Yeah.
just gotta follow whatever the governor is directing.
Everybody hear that?
I did.
Okay, any questions? Thoughts? Concerns?
Well, when you start opening things
Okay.
up, it's going to be hard to enforce, and for the police department to be down there and figuring out if there's 10 people, 15 people, and before you know it, you got a whole group of kids down there.
Okay.
That's not that hard to
Any
enforce.
other
You see
thoughts?
15 or 20 of them. You see 15 or 20 of them, you go break it up. That's pretty easy to enforce.
No. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to Cheryl's fiscal officer report.
Okay. You have your usual reports, the fund stuff, the April income tax and utility collections, the status of the revolving loans. I think I forgot to give you March, so I did March and April in your packet. And in other news, I have a list. Today we received the premium refund due to the CARES package. It was based on our 2018 workers' comp premium. It's $31,074. And I'm going to have to, unfortunately, amend appropriations once again next time, because I list income tax refunds that I'm very unhappy about for a total of $15,000. And that has to, I will give details to the finance committee, not here. And I'm not all with the tax collections. The numbers are horrible. And I've talked to him about them. And these are the numbers that we're looking at. Last year, we expected 2,043 income tax returns. On April 15th, the deadline, we had received 1,524 refunds, returns, and we had only 709 non-filer. By the time the extension period was over in October, we still had 112 non-filers. That was for 2019 or 18. This year, we got to July 15th, and we expect to have 2,135 returns. We've had 987 file, and we have 1,148 who have not filed yet. And we can't do anything until July 15th. And then we still have the ones who get extensions till October. So the income tax is our lifeblood of general fund is not good. And the offices, we had a meeting. We could have opened today, but we decided not to. We're going to wait until the 12th. And when we do, we'll be following all the guidelines, including even though each of the employees up here has their own office. If we have people coming in, we're going to only allow one at a time. And we will wear our mask or face shields or whatever you want to call them. Be some do it. We do have shields up in the tax office because they're so small. When the people are 6 feet apart, which we measured, like chairs are all the way up against the wall. But that's all right. They have one chair in their office, 6 feet back behind a shield with the mask, and that's how we're doing business. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
Any questions for Cheryl? Did everybody catch that? That's what she said.
Hey, Cheryl, did you say that the finance committee will be getting more information on kind of what you're expecting as far as general fund?
Oh, yeah. We need to have a meeting, but hopefully we don't have to have a meeting like this since there's only 3 on the finance committee. We can have it in person, 6 apart.
I've got a question about the revolving loan committee.
Go ahead.
How does that work? Like, you know, you got here the Android thinking DBA 5 Acre Mill, their loan is due. And you got Hicksville Brewing Company, theirs has been deferred. Now, is that something that goes to full council, or is it something that's decided within the revolving loan committee themselves?
No, that is part of the program that was set up originally years ago. It is the basis of it was a federal grant that Hicksville is awarded to have business come to town. And that's where the money goes to. It's not any tax dollar money. It's not real estate tax. It's not property tax. It's not local tax. It is just replenishing it itself. We give out a loan, they pay it off, and it's all in one fund.
Okay.
Question at all? I mean, the council is notified of all the decisions, but they're not, it's not dollar money. Am I making sense?
You're making enough sense, you know.
This is Troy. The council does approve, like, whenever there's the committee votes to like approve a loan or something like that, it gets brought to council for approval before anything's done and there's any documents or any paperwork, if that helps answer your question too. And likewise, if we were going to have to make an accommodation for somebody, say somebody's business had just totally been brutalized and they came asking for some relief or something, they would go to the committee initially and the committee would review it. But if the committee recommended doing whatever they were asking for or something different, that would come back to the council for approval.
So let me ask, what about this Hicksville Brewing Company where their status of their loan is deferred? Wouldn't that come to council?
Is it deferred because of recent things, or is it deferred because that was an original part of their program?
You're breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I wondered if their loan is deferred because of something that's happened, coronavirus, or if that was part of their original loan program where it got deferred for a certain period before they had to start making payments.
Last month they were current.
Is the coronavirus.
I've been in contact with Dennis. What's his last name? Dennis
Miller.
That's right. Anyway, Dennis Miller. Yeah. So between him and myself, we can defer it and put it at the end of the loan because of the coronavirus. That's correct. I made the arrangements, got with Dennis. But the people have to contact me if they.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed the the documents in a long time. Is there something in the documents that permit that?
Everybody's froze.
Oh, is there something in the documents that permit that? Because I don't remember that, and it's been a while since I reviewed them. I would have thought that was a request that would have had to have been made to the committee. But Dennis knows more about them than I do.
No, I talked to Dennis. Dennis, I was in contact with him, and he said, I get the request. I got the request, and I called him.
Mm-hmm.
Up to just a few months. Anything after that, then it's got to go to committee. That's what he informed me.
Okay.
That was just for 1 month because of the virus.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. On the fund status, on the bottom, it said total other adjusting factors, $46,804.
You're talking about the revolving loans?
No,
I'm talking fund status.
yeah, and the funds,
fund
that is
Okay.
when the bank is reconciled, we have one bank account, but I have two computers. We do payroll in one, and this is a UAN report. So whatever's in the other computer is itemized and added to the financial statement. Remember?
Okay. I got one more question then on a different subject. So we talked last week about a deadline for a contractor to get some work done. And I don't know if Val's been by there today, but last time I knew, that work still hadn't been done. It was supposed to be done by this past weekend. And then I was also told he was going to be there at 3:30 today to do the work, and still hasn't been done.
When we left at 4, he wasn't there.
So Troy, I'm not sure legally what we can do. I'll tell you, I maybe did something I shouldn't have done, but we've hired a contractor to replace a block wall in the pool, and this was supposed to be done in 2019. And I'm not sure if Cheryl paid all of it or part of it, but to get it off the books for budget wise. But the contractor said he'd have it done in 2019, didn't get it done. Told Val, Gary for months he was going to be there next week, never came. I started calling him because he's my first cousin. I thought maybe I might have luck with him. I called. He said he'd be there the first of next week. I waited 3 weeks. I contacted him again. Kept going on and on and on. And then he told me he'd be there. And every time, it's been 6 months since he's been hired for this job. He has all the block and all of his material down there on skids, but he has not showed up to do the work. I found another person to do the work at actually at a cheaper price, but Cheryl's concern was we already have a contract with one individual that's not holding up his end of the bargain and don't want to have to pay both of them.
Right. Well, we could, I'd have to see, is there an actual, something other than an estimate or whatever for his work? I doubt there's any extensive contract or anything. There's just go ahead.
We got it.
Sounds like he told. Go ahead.
We've got an estimate, and I gave it to Cheryl, and he must have turned in a bill at the end of the year.
So has he been paid in full?
I don't know. I didn't even know he was paid until last week.
Well, that's the risk that you're running in just going around him is he's already been paid. And risk wise, whatever, if he doesn't do the job, we'd have to probably take some formal steps to tell him he's not going to do the job. And what's the odds we're going to get the money that he's been paid back from him? I guess if it's no more than what the materials were, then that's okay. We bought the materials, we keep them, we let the other guy use them and do it or whatever. So it's not like I don't think we should just send somebody in to do it. And this isn't going to be a popular opinion here or whatever, but I got serious concerns as to whether or not the pool should be open this year anyway because of the coronavirus thing. I know in a lot of places they're shutting them down. The governor hasn't, if they could open now, they technically would be shut down because they're entertainment centers or whatever. But I have serious doubts as to whether or not that's going to be shut down. I know in Defiance they already said no pool for the year, and that was coronavirus related. Also, quite frankly, I think was probably budget related. Looking at what it costs to run the pool as opposed to what they take in for it. That was one place they could cut some money to make up for lost income tax receipts and things of that nature. But anyway, I digress. But if there's an estimate or something I could look at, if we could find out, has he been paid in full? Is he expecting to get paid more? There's different things, and then I could try and contact him. Just running out and having somebody else do the work, you were running the risk, I guess, but he can't jerk us around forever. It's just a question of how much work you want to put into it and going after him to try and get the money. And
he collectible? He did. He tore everything down in December. He just never come put the new bricks up.
Got it. So he's probably is entitled to be paid for something. He did, he did some work, and he's got materials there evidently. It sounds like we just need to get with him and say, hey, either finish it up or we're having somebody else do it, and whatever it costs, we're going to come after you for the difference, basically, because that would be the measure of damages. Is we thought we were going to get the job for X amount or get it done for X amount of money. We already paid you this much. We had to go pay person Y to finish it, and they charged us this much, and you owe us the difference. I mean, that's how it would work.
I just hope he finishes it. We don't have to bring somebody else in.
Right.
I didn't know he had signed for anything, and neither did Val. So I went away. I just called around and found somebody that would be interested in the job and said they could get on it right away. And I'm completely agree about the pool not opening. But if they were planning on open, that would have to be done before the health inspector would even pass the.
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we ought to use a little leverage and try and get the work done. That makes the most sense to try and have him get the work done, but sooner rather than later.
Well, he was supposed to be down on Saturday, and he said he went down and he said it was locked up. Well, the gate was unlocked, and we were never told that he needed to get inside the building.
Oh.
So I don't know if. Then we heard that he was supposed to be down today between 3 and 3.
My screen froze like mine is.
Mine's not, Ron.
Mine's working okay.
You're all right? You can hear?
Yep.
My SMTA is working excellent.
Same here.
Troy, this is Mark. I have a question. I believe if we paid him for services, I believe he can probably be prosecuted. We have prosecuted before in common pleas on these contractors for not fulfilling their job.
Well, I think the question is, what was he compensated and for how much work? I mean, if he's just been compensated for material and the work that he did at demolition, then there's not much we can chase after because the material's still there and the work was performed. I guess that's just where we have to come in and examine the contract and what he was compensated for.
Cheryl, do you remember how much he's been paid? Was he paid in full? Ron, you're muted.
Can't hear anything.
She want to try my chair. She said there's too much activity. Does everybody try to talk at once?
Activity in the whole.
Oh, really?
It's making everybody cut out.
Everybody's muted except Val and myself and Mike Barth. But my screen's froze now. Okay, I think we're about done. Any other questions? Maybe.
Hey, Troy.
But we'll look at that situation down the park, between Troy and Cheryl and myself. We'll see if we can get it resolved. So, is that okay, everybody?
Hey, Troy.
Yeah.
Hey, Troy, I've got a question as far as what are our council meetings classified as? So I guess as they're rolling out information, at what point will we know when we can go back to in-person meetings?
Well, I think as long as it all depends on what the regulations are. I mean, governments are essential business, obviously, and even with as of today, even all the other businesses, you still have to practice all the means, everything else that's required, the social distancing, the no more than 10 people, the 6 feet apart, even when you're allowed to be back at work. And that was the big issue with some like factories and stuff where they said, hey, you know, our machines are so close together, we can't, and then they had to put shields up and everything. So I guess theoretically we could be meeting in person now as long as we kept it under 10 people in the room and everybody was 6 feet apart. So I guess it's going to depend on how those regulations change over time. And I will say that there are some councils, I believe, that are still meeting in person. The majority of them, I'm on the listserv for the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association, and the majority of them are doing all meetings, committee meetings, they're even doing some like zoning appeals board stuff. You know, in the bigger cities, they're doing those all by video. So we just got to wait and see how the regulations pan out.
Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be meeting in the room.
I guess, would we be able to change location? Like, would we be able to meet at this school? Or does it have to be in chambers?
I don't think there's any requirement that it has to be in, unless there's something in our personal council rules about it. But I don't think under state law there's anything, as long as it's meeting within the village. Yeah, outdoor meetings. I mean, I can give you, for instance, we started doing in-person arraignments in court today, and we did between myself and the judge and the clerk and the bailiff, there's already 5 of us in there, so we only let 5 people in at a time. Everybody was 6 feet apart, and then when a person was done, a new person would come in, and they were all social distance, and that's basically how we plan on doing it until the regulations are. And everybody had masks on. That's the other thing.
Well, I think, can everybody hear me now? Yeah? Okay, I can't hear hardly anybody, but I think we're not doing well here, so I think I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Barth,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Klepper, and Ridgway.
Yes.
Lips moved.
Okay, everybody. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting adjourned.